Hello, good day everyone. This is Joel Bahian, and for today's topic, let's talk about the parts of news, the major classifications of lead, and the kinds of summary lead, as well as the kinds of grammatical beginning lead. So let's have first the parts of news. Now, newspaper articles require a style of writing different from what is used when writing a story. So this was discussed in the previous chapter of this book. And also, never delete in your mind the image of an inverted triangle when writing a news article. So for purposes of iteration, the opening statement or paragraph bears the most important information. So this one sentence, one paragraph is called the lead. And for you to understand better, here is the typical skeleton of a newspaper article containing the five basic parts. So first we have the headline, the byline, the lead paragraph, major details, and the minor details. Now let's have the headline. So what is a headline? Now the headline is the text indicating the nature of the article or news story below it. It's a brief summary of what is the article about. So the purpose of the headline is to quickly and briefly draw attention of the story. Now, the function of the headline is to tell in capsule form what the story is all about and to grade news as to importance and also to make the page look attractive. So in short, the headline is this is a short and attention-getting statement about the event and it capsulizes the first paragraph. Next, we have the byline. So the byline indicates the name of the writer or the writers of the news article and it gives the name, the date, and often the position of the writer of the article. So in the right side of your screen, that's an example of the byline. Next, we have the lead paragraph. So this contains the major who, what, when, where, why, and bow in it. So a writer must find answers to the major 5 W's and 1 how. Next, we have the major details. So after the lead paragraph is written, the writer will now decide to weave the major details into paragraph. And take note still that for beginners, the use of one sentence equivalent to one paragraph rule should be strictly followed. Now the writer should still observe coherence of ideas in the major details. So should there be more space in the paper, the least important details may be written. And next we have the lead. So in a feature article of news feature, the lead could be a word, a phrase, a sentence, or a paragraph that attracts and sustains the reader's interest. Now it is a rule of thumb that the lead in a story or in a news story, particularly in straight news, need not be too long. So as the popular adage says, a lead should be like a miniskirt, short enough to be attractive but long enough to cover the essentials. And they believe that the lesser words in a sentence, the higher its comprehensibility. So examples of the headline, the byline, and the lead. So as you can see, the headline was placed on the top, followed by the byline and the lead. So here we go with the major classifications of the lead. First, we have the summary lead. So the summary lead answers the 5 W's and 1 H, like what, who, where, when, why, and how. So as iterated, the story is presented using the inverted triangle form, where the most important data are in the first and the second paragraphs. So this is used when the straight news, as the nomenclature suggests, it summarizes only the most important 5 W's and H. So for example, the Prince William and Princess Kate introduced their daughter to the world as they left St. Mary's Hospital in London on Saturday, and the tiny princess slept her mother's arms during her first public appearance. Now the princess was delivered at 8:30 BST after a short labor, and Princess William was in the room for the birth of the 8 LBS and 3 Oz baby. Now in this example, it actually answered the 5 W's and 1 how, like what, who, where, when, why, and how. So it answered the where. So where it happened in London, when, on Saturday. So it answers the 5 W's and the 1 how. Next, we have the grammatical beginning lead. So this classification of lead paragraphs still gives emphasis on the logical importance of the major details. However, it is also equally concerned with its grammatical structure. There is an avenue to break the monotony of summary or conventional lead paragraph. Next, we have the unorthodox lead or novelty lead, and it is best used to attract the reader's attention, to arouse his or her curiosity, and to sustain his or her interest. And it is used in writing news feature, a feature article. Now let's have the kinds of summary lead. So, in discussing the kinds of summary lead, the details in the box are used. So, as stated earlier, the summary lead uses the 5 W's and 1 H as basis for starting such a lead. So, at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office yesterday, the Board of Trustees of the Batanes State College approved the new grading system, which will take effect next semester. So first we have the what lead. It applies the most important angle of the news. So for example, the new grading system, which represent the what lead. So the new grading system in Batanes State College will be imposed next semester after the Board of Trustees approve the resolution at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office yesterday. So the new grading system represent the what lead. Next, we have the who lead. So this type of lead is used if the most important angle of the news is the person involved, thus more significant than the event. So for example, the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batanes State College approved yesterday the new grading system at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office. So who are the person involved? So the members of the Board of Trustees are the person involved in this news. So the where lead here in this passage is at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office. Next, we have the when lead. So this type of lead is seldom used since this is only applicable when the time element is more important than the other angles of the story. So nonetheless, it suggests urgency and immediacy. So the when lead of the story is yesterday. So that's an example of the when lead. Next, we have the why lead. So if the cause of the event is the most effective angle of the story, this type of lead is best suited. So for example, to cope with the standards of Asian integration, the Board of Trustees of the Batanes State College approved yesterday the new grading system, which will take effect next semester. So why the Board of Trustees of Batanes State College approved the new grading system? So this is because to cope with the standards of the Asian integration. So that's the why lead of the story. Lastly, we have the how lead. So if the process of the manner of how the event happened is most important among the other angles of the news, the how lead is used. So for example, through a 7 to 5 vote, the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batanes State College approved the new grading system at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office yesterday. So how? How does the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batanes State College approve the new grading system? So this is through a 7 to 5 vote. So next, here we go with the kinds of grammatical beginning lead. So there are times where the lead is introduced by a kind of grammatical forms, where is usually a phrase or a clause used to emphasize a feature. So here the important W's are found in the main clause, not in the introductory or subordinate clause, which is just a modifying feature. Now again, it breaks the monotony of summary lead in a newspaper, and it may also denote that the story belongs to soft news. We have the prepositional phrase lead. A phrase is introduced by a preposition. So for example, with the power of resolution numbered 37, approved by the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batangas State College yesterday, the new grading system of the college will take effect next semester. So a phrase is introduced by a preposition. So this is an example of the prepositional phrase lead with the power of resolution numbered 37. Next, we have the infinitive phrase lead. So it starts with the preposition to plus the main verb. So for example, to meet the demands of the Asian integration, the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batangas State College approved the new grading system at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office yesterday. So an example of infinitive phrase lead is to meet the demands of the Asian integration, which also starts with the preposition to plus the main verb. So to meet the demands of the Asian integration yesterday. So this lead is signaled by the presence of the present or past participle of the verb acting as a modifier. Next, we have the gerundial phrase lead. This lead is introduced by a gerund. It is a verbal ending in ing, which acts as a noun. Many beginning writers interchange the present participial lead to gerundial lead. Now remember, the former acts as a modifier while the latter acts as a noun. Now for example, synchronizing with the standards of Asian integration was the primordial aim of the members of the Board of Trustees in approving yesterday the new grading system of Batangas State College. Since it is introduced by a gerund and it is a verbal ending in ing, so this is an exact example of the gerundial phrase lead. Next, we have the cause lead. So this is the last lead and it commences with a clause, so which may become either an independent or subordinate, or may transform as either a noun or an adjectival or adverbial clause. So for example, because there is a need to synchronize with the standards of Asian integration, the members of the Board of Trustees of the Batangas State College approved the new grading system at the Commission on Higher Education Central Office yesterday. So this is an example of the cause lead and it has a subordinate and adverbial of the line. So that ends my topic about the part.
To continue the report of my partner, I would be discussing about the kinds of novelty lead. So lead is when writing news features. A writer should remember that the article should still have a soft touch of feature writing. Thus, his or her article should be written in such a way that it arrests the reader's attention. These leads may also carry out a definite purpose. Number 1. Narrative lead. It draws the reader into the story by allowing her or him to relate herself with the character of the story. For example, the 5th of June 2015, Herodes Barabbas, 34, experienced the longest 1 hour in his life as he sat on a swivel chair in front of his 8 interviewers at Aklan State University. It was an entrance interview of the long queue of applicants, mustering their patience in waiting for instructor one position. So another example of narrative lead is Lisa never cried when her grandmother died. She hadn't been allowed to attend the funeral. Her mother thought she was too young. This considered as example of narrative lead because her mother was experiencing the same way she experienced in life. Second is descriptive lead. Effective in writing personality sketches, travelogues, and the like. This lead illustrates a mental picture of the subject to the reader. A writer must be adept in creating mental images through the play of the language to satisfy the readers in using this technique. Example: if Palawan were a class record, it must have received a nearly perfect grade weighted average for unending praises of tourists coming in to experience its breathtaking grandeur. Who would not drop his jaw when he says the evidence of God's dexterous hand that crafted the seascapes and landscapes of Palawan? add on the list the cerulean waves that unendingly race towards the sunny foot of the island. And if hoarding is legal, one must have put in a tank of the cool and pristine breeze. Indeed, when God said it in Genesis, it is good, he must be looking at the northernmost island in the Philippines, which is Palawan. So, another example of descriptive lead is dressed in white toga and with diploma in their hands. 234 graduates from Maputi Senior High School marched down to the stage. Third, quoted statement lead. It is a statement uttered by well-known personality or celebrity. Usually in school setting, when student journalists want to highlight the message of the guest speaker, they use this type of lead. Example, you have to spread your wings and fly. This was emphasized by Dr. Malu H. Wang, the guest of the honor and commencement speaker of Mindanao State last April 5 at the auditorium. Another example is, I was impressed with how well students were prepared for their thesis defense, said one of the panelists. Number 4. Question lead. It is a thought-provoking question to capture the interest of the reader and lead them to find the answer provided by the succeeding details of the article. Example, when was the last time you told your mother you loved her? Maria Montes, 35, wishes she could tell her 1,000 times how much she loves her now, but her mother is already headless inside her coffin. Another example is, what would you do if you won an internship at USA Today? College Shiva Wisdom is asking herself that question on a day after her graduation. Number 5. Teaser. Generally short, crisp, and witty. This is a device to deceive the reader in a jesting manner as it arouses his curiosity and gently leads him into the story. Often, riddles are used, and they do not give the readers any clue on nature of the story. They are mostly suggestive and humorous. For example, which come first, the hen or the egg? Well, egg could not be made possible without the hen, but where does the hen come from? Nowadays, what do you think come first? People who choose education over work, or people chooses work over education? Number 6. Punch lead. It is short, striking one-sentence lead. Example, hungry farmers in Kidapawan were asking for food, but the enforcers of the law fed them with bullets. Another example is, graduates in the year 2021-2022 were very happy for their face-to-face graduation. On the other hand, batch 2019 to 2022 has a little bitterness. Number 7. A teenager lead. This lead aims to give the reader a strong sense of emotional value. Thus, its primary uses an exclamatory sentence. For example, unbeatable indeed. After grabbing the intramural crown from the Green Aegis team 3 years ago, the Blue Titans has sustained its supremacy as it sent all its foes kneeling before its royalty throne. The awarding ceremony happened at Cagayan State University, Lalo Gymnasium, on August 12, 2015, the last day of 3-day clash. Another example is truly remarkable. Students were honored to their guest speaker, who has the greatest background in her studies and a journey in life, after her speech ended. Number 8. One word lead. It uses a very significant word to capture or arouse the interest of the reader. For example, boom! Residents in Basco, Batanes seemingly ran to nowhere when a restaurant situated in Kihuvukan exploded on April 1, 2016 around 9:15 in the morning. Another example is awesome. That's the best term to describe the feeling of the teacher seeing his previous students consistently and honor students. Number 9. Parody lead. It consists of a parody of well-known quotation, song, poem, book, or movie film title. Example: There was never an us. This was famous in their time. This similar line from a movie of Sarah Geronimo was the exact statement of Miss Sogpu to Mr. Chip Escudero yesterday when asked if there was a time when both agreed to share stock in the top performing Pacquiao Airline Company. Another example is water, water everywhere, but no water to drink. This was what the food victims found in their dismay. Number 10. Background lead. It describes an event in which the background overshadows the individual who participate in it. Often, it uses stories about carnivals, festivals, dances, and others. Example: with the glittering and shimmering buntings along the skimpy roads, as if throng of rainbows came to visit the town of Gataran, Cagayan to celebrate with its 30th Agsalukag Festival on April 13, 2016. Number 11. Freak lead. In order to enhance its appeal and to easily catch the attention of the reader, this kind of unique lead uses typographical effects to make the design more professional and attractive. For example, Wanted Loyal Filipino Teacher. This is the appeal of the Commission on Higher Education yesterday amidst the exodus of many Filipino teachers abroad. Another example is For Sale, One Elephant. I can see that this is freak lead because here in the Philippines, it is not ordinary or normal if we heard someone saying or we read something saying that an elephant is on sale. Number 12. Contrast lead. It is used to point out opposites and extremes. Example: last year, she campaigned for Megan Young as the president of Student Body. Today, Maria Maluwang, the head of Student Performing Arts, takes the lead in calling for Young's resignation. Another example is there is now only a single abortion clinic in Mississippi. Once there were 7. You see the contrast. In the previous year, there were 7, but now there's only one, single one. Number 13. Staccato lead. Primarily rooted from musical parlance. This term suggests a lead that consists of a series of words and phrases, punctuated by periods, commas, and dashes. For example, neglected, denuded, abused, abandoned. This is the real picture of our forest today. Another example is midnight on the bridge. A scream, a shot, a flash, a second shot, a third shot. So, let's move on to the reason for using novelty lead. Number 1, to enhance the readability of the newspaper. Number 2, to arouse the reader's interest. Number 3, to add vigor and color to writing. And lastly, number 4, to challenge the ability of the writer. Rules of thumb in lead writing. Rules of thumbs mean, or in other words, guidelines. So, number one, make sure the lead includes the most important of the five W's and H, particularly the who, person or thing, did, what and when, for a story about report. Never begin with the statement a report was issued by. Number two, the lead should be simple, brief, compact, vigorous, and attractive. It should not inject too much information. In general, keep the lead to 17 to 35 words. Try letting others read your lead. When he cannot grasp the meaning at once, consider revising it. Number three, facts first. Do not start with when or where, unless such information with the heaviest importance. Number four, consider your subject matter. Not all news articles are treated light as well as serious. However, bear in mind that all news articles should be forceful. A writer once opined that in making the lead forceful, opine meant express opinion. A writer once opined that in making the lead forceful, the main verb should be embedded within the first six words. Try doing it. Number six, your lead should not carry your gratuitous opinion. To avoid this, indicate the person or the source from whom such opinionated statement came from. Number seven, practice avoiding to begin the eighth of ninth focus on the action, the who or what, time, date or place. Better focus on the action, the who or the what. Number 8. Practice makes perfect. Number 9. Cut off non-essential details. News writing or news reporting is straight to the point. Hence, do not begin with an empty, say nothing expression or a generality that fails to distinguish this news from other news. There were, and report, in a report released today, or according to. Number 9. Practice makes perfect. So the saying goes on. Soon you will enter the threshold of skilled writer. So avoid using a form of the verb to be in the lead, if possible. Use an action verb instead. Action verbs are more forceful, more vigorous than verbs to be. So in journal writing, we should use action verb for our journal to be more forceful, more vigorous. Okay, thank you for listening.